Bear with me. All right. Welcome everyone. Man, we came on like hitting the ground running. Thanks for all of your great questions. And that's just the beauty of coming on early and being in the waiting room and being one of the first ones. So we want to kick this off. Please have something to write with and something to write on. Where is my block? Right here. Have it ready. Exactly. Turn this little thing off. We don't need it right now. And excited yet one more time, and many more to come. Brigitta Hoeferle here. I'm here with John Kurth. And John, excited and honored to be here yet again with you and with all of you that came on live today and that are also watching on our Facebook Live. John.
All right, again, Brigitta is my fellow Grandmaster of NLP. She is a business owner in her own right. I'm the founder of Syntactic Sales Scripting. I have an international MBA, 7 years working and living in Asia. I lived through SARS, so ladies and gentlemen, this is my second time around with pandemics. So that's just heads up on that. I'm the author of What Are Your Words Wearing? And I'm a graduate of the Academy of Competitive Intelligence out of Boston, Massachusetts. And I've personally been trained by a scenario planner at Shell. So I don't say this to brag. I share this with you today so you can have confidence in what Brigitta and I are sharing with you today. Brigitta.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So we are continuing with number 3 in our 6-part series. Let me go back to my screen. Bear with me. Here we go. So we have gone through steps 1 through 5 so far. So on Tuesday, we started with step 1 and 2, identify focal issue or decision and key forces in the local environment. We've gone through step number 3 and 4, the driving forces and ranking by importance and uncertainty. And then going into step 5, selecting scenario logics. So that's where we are today. We are in the scenario logics. So you've identified your driving forces that were the most important and uncertain. And today we are covering the scenario logics. So you may have 1, 2, or even 3 driving forces. And once the fundamental axes of the crucial uncertainties have been identified, you can present them in 3 ways. And we're going to go through them today. Please make yourself a note as we are going through content-rich information yet again today, as we are going to do for all of our courses next week as well. We're going to have a few days, and I'm going to frame this again at the end of our call, where you can send in your questions and your key driving forces to us, and we will actually give you feedback. So making notes and creating as you are going through this course and implementing what you are learning in your organization, your business is key. So as I said, you can present them in 3 ways. There is the continuum, that is 1 driving force. There's the matrix, 2 driving forces, and there is as a volume, and that is for 3 driving forces. And here's the example of presenting the crucial uncertainty along 1 axis, and that is the continuum. John.
Yeah, and one other thing about having 1 axis with a continuum, the 1 driving force, it still gives you a range of uncertainty to work with. Notice it is now a smaller unit to work with. Prior to doing this, you have all this uncertainty. It's everywhere. It's too big. You can't get your head around it. If your business has 1 driving force, then you put it along a continuum. Now you can look at it and now generate the insights that is going to help your business grow and thrive. One of the things on the success exercises that Brigitta is going to talk about later, when you send us your driving forces, and it can be more than 2, list what type of industry you are in, because there might be a different driving force that will affect one industry more than another. So just make sure you put a note on that. Brigitta, please advance to the next slide. So we're talking about the scenario logics. Think about you ever hear about reviews of movies? They're looking for plot holes. Plot holes are an indication of flaws in the underlying logic or logics. So you need to get the underlying logics right. So a different way is a matrix. These are two driving forces. You have one driving force number one on the x-axis and driving force number two on the y-axis. But notice, this is how you bound uncertainty. Uncertainty can be this big thing, and when it's like this, you're like, panicking. That doesn't work. Now with your two driving forces, you have put a bound, you have framed the uncertainty. It's smaller chunks. Now it's not so granular, but it's enough that you can work with it. Notice if this were on a whiteboard for yourself, you can now step back from it. We talked yesterday about disassociating yourself from it. Now you can see it. You're watching a movie on the screen. This is why the scenario process is so powerful. It reframes how you look at the world, and it allows you to step back. You've now taken this gigantic uncertainty that's everywhere and have now bound it. You now have four scenarios to work with. There's also something that's called a wild card scenario. Just like a wild card, when a wild card hits, all bets are off. Now, the wild card scenario, really the impact is so extreme and so uncertain that it must be addressed. Wild card, the impact is so extreme and so uncertain, it must be addressed. This is what's called thinking about the unthinkable. So with that, sometimes you have to deal with it. So the wild card is thinking about the unthinkable. You must look at it, because if it comes down, all bets are off. So in my experience working with companies, you just can handle 4 or 5 scenarios. So Brigitta, go back one slide. Go. Right. In the scenario matrix, note you have 4 scenarios. I haven't put a Roman numeral in each box. You've got 4 scenarios based off of the various driving forces, and plus 1, which is the wild card scenario. So either 4 or 5 scenarios, that is what is most workable for companies. Now, Brigitta talked about this earlier. Go on to the next slide about a volume. All right, a volume has 3 driving forces. We have driving force number 1 on the x-axis, driving force number 2 on the y-axis, and driving force number 3 on the z-axis. Now you have a volume. Now you have a cube. With a volume with 3 driving forces, you will have 9 scenarios. Although 9 scenarios is possible, it's just too many scenarios to handle. Royal Dutch Shell, pioneer of scenario planning process, a multi-billion-dollar multinational organization with a tremendous amount of human resources, financial resources, and others. Even they don't deal with 9 scenarios. Logistically, it is just too much. And another thing, if you're ever attempting the volume with the 9 scenarios, the scenarios begin to blur into one another. And when they blur into one another, they lose their distinctiveness. And the distinctiveness is key in each scenario, because once it's distinct, you can now step back and look at it, and you can then start generating strategies from that. Brigitta, observations or other comments?
Yes, absolutely. So what I'm hearing you say, John, is if there are too many options, people simply shut down. It's just too much, right? So it's essential to handle the uncertainties in each distinct scenario, right?
Yes.
Once you can hold the uncertainties, then you can actually generate those robust strategies that we've been talking about, and that's the goal of this course. So having, what I'm also hearing is, and this is what I want to convey to all of you, when you have too many scenarios, then you start to you either associate too much and you start to panic because it's just too much going on. And when I say associate and disassociate, I hope that everyone understands when you associate with something, you're in it. Like, you are so associated in your life, you are in it. You're not looking from the outside in, like you're looking from a window from the outside in. You're associated in it. When you are disassociated, what John said earlier, you kind of put it on the whiteboard and you take a step back. That's when you're disassociating yourself, and in order to map it out. Now, when there are too many scenarios and you're too disassociated, or you're disassociated altogether, it becomes too theoretical and you don't have access to your gut feeling anymore. This is all about robust strategies. And yes, guess what? Your gut feeling plays a part of that. It is a big part of that, and you must be associated in order to get that. Any last comments on this?
One thing I would like to add, think about brains have hemispheric dominance. Some people are more left brain, some are more right brain. Chess grandmasters typically are almost parallel with dominance. Their left brain and their right brain are almost, one is slightly more dominant than the other. So the right brain sees the whole gestalt of the board. Then the left brain drills down into the individual strategies to get from here to there. That's why chess grandmasters are so amazing. So the thing is, you're doing the same thing here with the scenarios. You're accessing both your right brain, which is the gestalt, the bigger patterns, the feelings, the guts. You're eliciting strategies from that part of your brain, as well as from your left side of the brain. Well, how do we navigate all this? That is why the scenario planning process is such an excellent methodology for times of massive disruption. A time for massive disruption is called discontinuity. There's a major break from the past. It's not just a little, things are a little bit different. Think about when you see the walls of the Grand Canyon. Have you ever visited the Grand Canyon? It looks like layers of a cake. You've got this orange colored, and then it stops, and then you get brown, and then it stops, and then you get white. Each one is a discontinuity, is a complete break from the past. That's why other strategy systems are not as effective as scenario planning process is for times like these. So I want to acknowledge all of you for going through this process. And Brigitta is going to talk about some additional ways you can have access to us over the weekend and some additional bonuses, because we want to acknowledge the people who have been taking access, taking action, and giving you access. Brigitta.
Yeah, and as I said in the last few calls, coaching is a big key on that, right? We've covered the scenario building processes up to scenario logics today, and the importance of coaching is, you already see it. We are answering your questions before we answer one question before we actually got on the recording of this call, and that also shows us that you're open enough to accept other ideas or other strategies that we are teaching you. As I said on our first call on Tuesday, your mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's open. So your willingness to take action and your willingness to implement what you're learning is going to show in your success as you are creating those robust strategies for your own business and organization. So having said that, we're going into a longer weekend. So we are starting our 4th of 6 part series. Number 4 is going to be next Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be the 14th, I think. Let me double check. Yes. Tuesday, July 14th, we're going to have our call number 4. So between now and next Tuesday, you actually have access, and we have success work for you to share your key driving forces. May there be 1, 2, 3, 4. List them. Share with us your industry that you are in. Let me stop sharing my screen so I can see you guys better as well. Send them in to us, and John and I will give you some feedback on it. Also, there might be questions. We had some folks come back to us and say, look, we kind of miss asking you questions. Well, we only have 20 minutes together and we want to be mindful of everyone's time. So over the weekend, if you have any questions up until now, we've gone through steps 1 through 5. Ask your questions. You know, share with us what you're dealing with, your driving forces, any questions that you have. And here's where you're going to send it. I'm going to put it in the chat box, and I'm also going to say it here. You're going to send it to info@NLP Atlanta. Very easy. info@NLP Atlanta. So send in the subject line, say success work, wind tunneling, success work, wind tunneling in the subject line. I'm going to put that in here as well. Wind tunneling, success work.
One thing, as you're seeing that, there was a question, is driving forces are uncertain and impactful. We're not dealing with immediacy. Uncertain and high impact. Prior to COVID coming down, it wasn't immediate, right? The last major outbreak was SARS. So again, that's a driving force. Is it uncertain, and as the impact substantial? We don't worry about immediacy. But again, we're looking at the driving forces. Remember the iceberg to help you identify. Is it uncertain, and is the impact significant on your business, or the potential impact? That's what we're dealing with. Good. Brigitta.
So if you want to go back and look at the iceberg, it's actually in your workbook that I shared with you in the email. I'm sending you an email every day with the recording and with the workbook of each day. And there's the slide of the iceberg, and there's also the slide of the cone of uncertainty in there as well. So if you're uncertain about that and you want to go back and review, it's right there in the workbook, or you can re-listen to the recording as well, as Greg did the other day. So that is it from my side. I think we got everything that we wanted to talk about. You know what? I want to share. I want to point one thing out. You're going to have access to us, 2 Grandmasters of NLP, over the weekend. That's huge. You can't put a price tag on that. And we do that out of love and admiration for you, because we want to set you up for success. So, you know, use it. Don't misuse it. We're here for you. Thank you again. I will see you on Tuesday, 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern time. Yes, Jeannie, thank you for reviewing, because that's where the success lies, in reviewing. And Elena is also nodding her head. Thank you for being on, John. Thank you again. I will see you guys next Tuesday. Bye for now. Ciao.
Bye-bye.